All right, guys, welcome back to the Madcore Hunter podcast. We got a special guest tonight. I guess as you can see in my background, I'm traveling for work, and I forgot to bring my Madcore hat, so it's like that Marty Stewart song. I'm Madcore to the bone, but I don't wear no hat tonight. But very fortunate to have Bill Moore on, and Danny as usual right here. So, Bill, how
Been
you
doing pretty
been?
good. Glad I got to go do a little hunting this year.
Yeah, exactly. We want to get to that story here soon. And I guess, Danny, go ahead and kind of do your intro. And I guess because Bill just has here, it's Bill, but, maybe kind of explain the background and such and, family relation.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll dive into it a little bit. Uh, like, like we had cousin Zach. This is Uncle Bill on this one. Bill's been there for most of my most of my hunts. A lot of them, put it that way. I wouldn't say most of them, but been there for a lot of important ones and a lot of the big memory ones. And been hunting with Bill since I was really small. I kind of frustrated because I just say I'm not getting the hunt. It's kind of done, and I didn't think it was done for me. And I've been trying to figure something out. I thought I had a plan, and procrastinated on it. And I was on what I thought was my backup plan if all else failed was Nebraska. And if it's been, I don't know, a handful of years ago. I don't remember the last time I went over there, but used to be able to go OTC and buy a muzzleloader tag in December, and you could hunt, statewide. I went to look online to see about that, and realized that's not an option anymore. You got to put in for a draw. So that was highly disappointing, but that was on me. That's just one of those last things. If I've can't get to Indiana or Illinois or something like that, that was kind of a last resort place to go hunt. I don't have anywhere good to hunt over there, but I did kill a doe over there a few years ago, the first time I ever went there. So seen a few deer, but no, it kind of thought maybe Illinois was going to happen. And, was trying to do it in too short of a time frame for one thing, because it was debating like, hey, is it worth driving 2 days to get to hunt? 3, maybe 4 is just tough. Cause I mean, I know I can come back there to Indiana and got places I can hunt there, but just the time frame was, I thought maybe I would go to Illinois, but it wasn't working out with Obendorf and everything. So it just kind of all fell through. But I did go to the store tonight and got a couple doe tags here for Wyoming. Um, it'll be a bow only area that I'm going to try to go to just to try to get the last hunt or two in for the year. Got a few people that wanted some game, so gonna see if I can help them out a little bit. And I guess Janelle's still got an elk tag that we just didn't know if we were going to get to or not. It's for Cal, and I think we're going to get 2-3 days to go after cows. See if we can find something for her.
Interesting. That's what I was gonna tell you, man. It's like it's restarted for me because I still have 2 tags. I have Kentucky,
Yeah.
which is very close for me, and then I have Illinois, which I've kind of set up a trip for end of the month there. And I went over this past week into Kentucky just to kind of like a scout hunt. It was real cold, and it's muzzleloader, so I was just gonna sit on the ground, and I was just sneaking through there, dude. And there's like a little thicket, and I'd be daggone if just a nice buck, maybe bigger than what I've already shot. I mean, I'd say he's for sure like around that 150 mark, maybe bigger. Just comes out of this thicket, and I got him stopped, and I could not pick him up in the scope. And I think it was too far anyways. And I looked down, I forgot because I had sighted my muzzleloader in. It was turned all the way up. So like, I needed to back it off half power. And just by the time that happened, he spooked him. And then I spooked him again, but he ran on the neighbors. It's kind of like picture a hayfield that grew up. And, I didn't have permission anyways. I really didn't have a shot, but I got a good look at him. Just looked like a big, thick 10, maybe bigger than what I already shot this year. So it's like, he kind of told me where he's living. So now I'm like back to the drawing board trying to figure out how to hunt him. There's not a lot of food over there for how cold it is, but I don't know. I guess my problem's just the opposite now. I'm back to the obsession of trying to get another one. So
Well, hopefully you can track one down there.
we'll see. I think my wife's about tired of it this year. It's I killed December and here it is December. We've got holidays and family. I've already got another trip to Illinois. So we'll see. I gotta tread lightly. I've been very blessed to get the one I did. And I've got to get a doe or two for sure. Doe meat's better for the freezer and such. But um Bill, what have you been up to? You got a buck kind of early on and you kind of been filling the freezer, and I want to get to the story of your deer, but I guess what have you been up
Um,
to here lately?
Went deer hunting up in Indiana. I live in Florida now, so made the trek to Indiana and was fortunate to get a buck during bow season and then got a doe during gun season. But really, that was about the extent of my hunting, although it was very good. That was kind of the extent this year, unfortunately, but the way it worked out, my wife and I were out in South Dakota doing some work out there and um, just kind of hanging out and enjoying life. We were there for about two and a
Yeah.
half
Yeah,
months, so that was fun. So it was something different. I certainly missed the hunting that comes in September and October, but we had a good time, and that was important. Good time.
good, good. Are you still doing a
Yeah,
lot of fishing in Florida?
this is like not probably the best time of the year to really um, hit it hard. It's coming up quickly though, because usually the beginning of January through end of March is really good crappie fishing and good bass fishing as well. You can catch some this time of year, but really haven't had the time, like you said, with the holidays coming up. You got obligations with family and stuff, and so at this point, I haven't done a lot. Done a little bit, but not a lot. But the crappie will be biting very good in January.
Yeah, yeah, that'll be good time. So I want to get to the story on your bucks. That's a good buck. I like he's unique, especially on that one
Yeah, I
side with
know.
all those kickers. So you guys were up in South Dakota, and then you decided to come down to Indiana, or you came up from
Actually,
Florida? How did that work?
we were in South Dakota, and we left there towards the end of October, and um, I drove back to Florida because we had our camper, and I brought my wife back to Florida. And then about 2 weeks later, I took off and drove to Indiana. Um, Went to see my brother that still lives in Indiana, and that's where I hunted.
Yeah, you
But
guys have good luck out there.
he
Go
does
ahead,
a really
Danny.
good job of knowing what's on his property and where to go on the property. And I mean, he does the hard work. Like Danny and I have reaped the rewards of his hard work.
Yeah, I've I definitely want to get back. I it was basically the second set that I was in a tree there on that farm, and I killed a pretty nice buck there. I think in 23, I believe. Haven't got back to hunt. I thought maybe this year might get a chance to just schedule and trying to get schedules down. And with hunting in Illinois every year, it's
Right.
tough to figure out with and trying to hunt everywhere. It just makes it a lot. But I think I was texting Bill and Tim when you were there, and um, I think you were in. We overlapped a little bit when I was in
Right.
Illinois when you were in Indiana. I don't know if you were there like the first or the second, third, I
Yeah.
think, weeks
Yeah.
of
I was
November.
there. And I got there right before Veterans Day and then stayed through that first week of gun season.
I wish
Yeah,
you let me know you were coming up. Really, you're not
Yeah, I
too far from where I live, Bill. We could have
yeah, we
connected at
should have
least for
I
dinner
should
or
have done
something.
that. I Just kinda a busy schedule of trying to hunt. Dang it.
No, yeah, I mean,
I
I
should have
was,
done it, but I just
yeah,
didn't. Next time, next year, I go there
it's
every year.
Yeah, yeah.
You want to jump into because I know it was definitely sounded like I've heard some of the stories, so I'll let Eli
Okay.
ask questions a little bit, but it sounded like you had
Yeah.
one heck of a hunt the day that you
Yeah.
actually got your buck.
Okay, I haven't heard any of the stories, so I'll ask the I guess I'll be the interviewer and hear it. So, came up from Florida and you're at this spot. So, how many day hunt was this gonna be? I guess how long did you have to get it done, or you're retired, so was this not waiting
Yeah.
until you kill, or
I'd planned spending 2 weeks based on how I did. Um, Also, it's visiting family while you're there hunting, which is a good thing about me going to that I can go see. And so the trek from Florida's 16-hour drive, which you guys know how that is when you drive that far. You want to go hunting right away, and I made the wise decision to sleep in the first day and get my stuff ready and make sure the bow's on and all that good stuff. I went that evening, which was a Monday. It's a day before Veterans Day. I saw a doe, got made sure the stand was good shape, and uh, my brother Tim had sent me pictures of bucks that he had buck fighting. Called me on the way and got me fired up. So we're going to have a great week. Um, when he tells you that, he knows because, as I said, he does a great job of having cameras out to really know what's going on his farm. Um, um, as Dean mentioned, he killed a good buck there a couple years ago, and as it turned out, I was in the same stand that Danny killed his buck out of. The beginning of the story kind of played out like Danny's did a couple years ago, and what the deer did, and it didn't work out. But as it turned out, I'm glad it didn't because the hunt was great. About the next day, on Veterans Day, it was cold that day, and 24, which with somebody that lives in Florida now, 24 is kind of hard to set.
oh yeah, that's pretty
Right.
cold for November
There'd been
too.
snow the day before. So there was a little bit of snow on. It was cold, and I had every piece of warm clothing that I'd brought with me to stay warm. And you know how it is when you're trying to get to a stand and you got all the warm clothes on. You don't want to go in so fast that you are sweating by the time you get there, because once you set, you're not going to be able to withstand that sweat against your body. But anyway, got in the stand, sitting there. About 8 o'clock, I heard something coming down this hill, and uh, I looked that direction, and there's a buck coming through the woods, and he's decent. Um, I'm not super particular, but I was like, if he gets down here, I'm gonna shoot him. And he was wide. He had short tines, but he was wide. Um, So he gets about halfway down the hill, and I grunt at him. Um, and he stops and looks. And at that point, he's like 50 yards away. Um, he doesn't, he kind of looks, but he's not interested. And then he just takes off and goes through some real thick underbrush. And at the same time, I hear this doe blow. She goes running. I see her then after she blows, and she goes running and she's gone, but I don't see the buck anymore. And so I sat there and I'm like trying to watch the direction he went, and didn't, never saw him. And so about a minute passed, and I heard something coming from the other direction. He's either circled around or um, it's a different deer. So this is on the opposite side of the holler that I'm sitting in, and I see movement, and I see antlers. I'm like, oh, that one's pretty good too. And so he gets 30 yards from me, but he stops and he's behind some thick stuff. And I'm like, if he takes another step, I got a shot. Well, he didn't. He finally just turned and walked away. And so
Hmm.
about a hour and a half passed, nothing. Didn't see anything, didn't hear anything. And pretty soon, about 100 yards away down this dry drainage, I see a doe, and I'm watching it. I put my binoculars on it, and I'm like, well, I might shoot a doe. I don't know. So it's walking towards me, and
Yeah.
um, just all of a sudden, I catch movement of another deer. I'm like, well, that's a fawn, and the fawn is in front, and the doe's behind me because I could tell the body was bigger, and it kind of cleared the underbrush, and I was like, "Oh, that's not a doe, that's a buck." And so they continue towards me, and I'm like, I ranged a tree, and I'm like, he's on a deer trail. The doe was on the opposite side of the drainage, so she gets up. He's behind her, obviously, and she gets up about 10 yards from me, and did what does do: stop 10 yards away and look right at me. And so I was already ready, and the buck, he stopped at uh, 25 yards. When he stopped, he turned just enough so I had a straight on shot at his chest. He wasn't broadside. I don't like that shot, especially at 25 yards, but I'm like, this doe's going to bust at any second. And so I just put it right on his chest and shot. And he jumped that dry creek and made a little circle and fell in the dry creek. It was like 20 yards from where I shot him.
Right
No,
on. Didn't go very far.
no. And
Nah.
you always like it when they fall and you see them fall.
Yeah.
Was that buck, were they
Yes,
below you
yes,
when you shot? That stands right in a creek bottom, Eli. But it's a really cool spot because there's, I don't even know, 5 or 6 ridges that just
yeah,
come right down into the bottom there, and a lot of deer funnel through there.
Yeah.
I had kind of the same experience. A lot of bucks looking for does coming through there. The
yeah,
one day I was
yeah.
down there,
Yeah. Sounds like he's got a good spot. I tell you what, that shot, Bill, is if, I think they say it's the size of a grapefruit or something, you want to get in there. But I shot an elk like that. It was actually in Colorado, and it died before I
Right,
can even get another arrow on. So if you hit him there, some guys don't like it, but man, if you hit him there, I mean, it's
right.
almost
It's
a for
the
sure
only
thing.
thing that I'm iffy on is if you're off a little bit, you may hit their shoulder, especially on a deer because of
Yeah.
course, a buck's bigger than a doe, but it's like, man, you got to be right there. And I was confident, and it was like, if you don't take the shot, the doe is going to bust it all, and you're done with that buck anyway.
Yeah.
that's something that Eli and I have talked a lot about. It's just like a lot of people that kill a lot of animals. One of the main reasons behind it is taking the shot
Right,
opportunity as soon as it happens. Because it's one thing if you're a jury or Lee and Tiffany where you're going to have multiple opportunities, but for most of us, you have to shoot the minute you see it because these deer are going to pick you up in a tree or smell where you walked in, especially if you're hunting public and stuff. It can be
Oh,
just
yeah.
extremely tough to get a shot.
Have you ever watched like a hunting show? It's like, the deer's walking, you see like one shot, and he's like, the guy's just waiting, he's wanting to get it all on film and this. I'm just like,
yeah,
shoot him, shoot him. It's like, dude, the first shot opportunity I get, I'm gonna shoot because you guys, anything could happen. A coyote could jump out, the neighbor's
right,
dog, the wind could swirl, he could catch your movement, a doe could come by. It's like you have to be, opportunistic almost. I mean, I'm not saying you do unethical shots. But me and Danny have talked, and I kind of had a little bit of regret earlier this year. But, you know, you're not going to kill a lot if you don't take the shot. I mean, you know, we know some other people that seems like it, you know, you almost have
Right.
to poke them in the butt to get them to shoot. And,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, you gotta walk a fine line between when to and when to not. I mean, like my Illinois buck, that's one I actually maybe should have waited, changed. Didn't if my platform hadn't failed, that'd been a different story. I'd have killed that deer most likely. But had I waited 20 seconds and move, it was just I was gonna have to make a big movement with my bow in that opportunity. That's why I didn't want to wait, and I should have. But I don't know. There's just a fine line you got to walk with getting that shot or not getting the shot. Because it seems like to me, the more you wait, the less likely you are that everything's going to work out to get
Yeah,
the
I,
shot.
I think that when you have the opportunity, you got to be ready for it and just let it happen, good or bad. As Eli said, you want to be ethical. Also, if you're not aggressive, uh, no matter what the animal is, you're going to have a difficult time really filling your tags over time.
Well,
yeah, what equipment were you using, Bill? I guess broadhead. What
Well, I
broadhead did
shot
you
it with
shoot that with?
crossbow because of many years of being a carpenter and in the trades business. My joints have wore out, and shooting a compound, I can still do it. It's just not where I feel like I'm competent to do it on a consistent basis. I've done it, but I use crossbow. I have a Excalibur, and I use the Excalibur fixed blade broadhead with the Excalibur bolts. Very good equipment.
it's a
As I said, I would prefer using compound, but unfortunately, my situation. If you get older, sometimes you can't always do what the things you used to do when you were younger.
Oh yeah.
yeah. That's a three blade
Yes, it
fixed
is,
broadhead, I
and it's
believe, wasn't it?
150 grain broadhead.
Yeah.
Same as
Was that the same
same
head
as
you?
I used on the elk hunt that you and I when I shot that bull when you and I were together about 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think it
Yeah, it
was
was 23.
23, I believe.
I saw you were
Oh
wearing the old
yeah,
wool
that
coat,
never
Bill.
changes, Eli.
Yeah, I know,
I
man.
Yeah,
Lot of hunts with that.
I showed Jordan that picture because he's got the same identical one. We after you guys all had those, we all ended up with them. I've still got one. That's one piece of gear I will never get rid of because I know that
right.
it'll work no
Yeah,
matter what.
yeah.
So,
As I said, it was cold that morning, so I piled everything on that I had, and it
Was
is.
that a
Yes.
Columbia? What is that wool? Okay, I've got one too. It's kind of awkward, but I'm the same
Right.
way. I'm not gonna get rid of mine. It's kind of tried and true, and I
Yeah.
like that old school
The one
camo.
thing that I really like
that's
about it is it's so quiet. Wool is like the quietest garment that you can wear, when it comes to um, bow hunting. Uh, I know it's old. It looks different than what you wear today or what everybody wants to wear today, but it does the job and it's quiet.
it's definitely
Yeah.
quieter than any new stuff whatsoever. And I mean
Oh yeah.
they were made. You can survive about anything in those clothes because that stuff will still keep you warm when it's wet. And I mean, I've caught myself switching back to wool as far as next to skin layers a lot on the way that I dress for the
Right.
colder stuff for sure. And even warm. I don't know. I've gotten to where I don't like the
Right.
synthetic next to the body. It just if you
Right.
sweat at all, you get cold, especially elk
I,
hunting. I used to wear that a lot and I've kind of stepped away from it.
if I could afford it, there's a brand called Weather Wool out there, and it's this guy. He goes around. It's all USA wool. He like goes and picks it out like old school and sews it in house. And I mean, it's like I don't know, 800 to $1,000 for like a kind of an old school button up jacket. But he's got a lot of different garments. A lot of it's actually sold out. But he has a gosh, I forget. It's a lot of guys are hunting in it. It's very expensive, but it'll last you forever. And like Bill's a good attestment. Like he's been hunting that for probably longer than I've been alive, honestly.
It's probably I don't know for sure, but I bet it's got
Oh,
20
yeah,
years in
more
it.
than that. Yeah. That's probably got
I
A lot of
know
35.
I know that we had those sets probably, I don't know. Did you have those when you
No,
went
I did
caribou
not. That was
hunting?
in caribou hunted in 99, and I think about got that around 2004. So, yeah.
I know I had a set, and I mean, you guys had them before I did. I know I had a set of those when I moved to Wyoming, and I think in 2003, I believe or man, it maybe wasn't in 3. Maybe it was 2004 you guys come out to Pinedale, and
Yeah.
I think I had a set of them. It yeah, it's probably
Yeah. Right.
22, 23-year-old stuff for sure. But yeah, I've got mine. I got pants and jacket in them, and that's one I always have that in case I want to break them out. I was looking at the picture here too. I don't know if you noticed that Eli is
Yeah.
Bill's
It's old
hat.
school.
It's it's one yeah, it's one of the it's not the first, but it's one of the early 2000s model
Yeah.
of
Just says
Madcore.
MC on a broadhead.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
still have one of those. I think that when we were doing doe drives, you gave me Danny, or maybe Dad gave it to me. But yeah,
I've got a container I seen the other day that I opened, and I mean they're all really crappy, but it's like forever I couldn't throw away a hat that said Madcore on it. But I've got one of the very original that is just I wore it nonstop for years, and you can't even. I mean, it's just gross. Like it's like feels like cardboard because it's been sweated in so bad, and everything's faded on it so bad. But I just can't bring myself because it's the only one that I know of that it had the writing. It just said like Madcore Outdoors across it. It was an old mossy oak hat with the um.
and
I don't think
I,
there was an emblem.
another thing I noticed, and I don't know if I'm any good at aging deer. You know, I think half the people are full of crap when they say they know for sure how old a deer is. But did Tim happen to know? Because he keeps a pretty good eye on his cameras. That looks like an old buck to me. Like he's got a long nose. He's got the kickers at his base. Did
Um,
he say anything, Bill, or did you
yeah, he
have a
thought he
guesstimate?
had pictures on that from years past. Nice, Danny. Yeah.
I was just trying
Yeah,
to get
What's
it up
that?
for a little bit.
I'll
Okay.
put it
I was
on the
just trying to bring.
I'll put it on the thumbnail too of when I post this podcast
Yeah.
like usual, so everybody can
Right.
see it right off the bat.
He's a mainframe 8, but like Eli was talking about, he's got some really nice kickers on his bases, and I think he had
Off the
one
back
extra
on,
off back
yeah,
on his
left beam.
left beam, maybe.
So 13
I
scoreable
think there's
points.
12. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a 13th point, but it wouldn't have been scoreable. It's probably half inch or maybe 3/4. The one on the left beam below the large kicker, it is like an inch and an eighth. But the one on the left side below
Yeah,
that larger kicker below the brow tine, it's just about maybe a half inch long.
yeah, and I think Tim had sent me. You guys had put a rough score to it, and I think it was like, what was it,
136, they're on 37.
137, what
That area.
somewhere in there. Yeah, it's a pretty nice deer. I don't know what it is about Tim's places. You get these real nice heavy deer. Like mine, I believe had some. I don't know if it had points that were
Right.
scoreable on the bases, but I think it had some knobs and stuff on it, and it looked like a mature deer. But man, he's tight. He's like mine was only about
Yeah.
13 inches wide, I think. You know, it looked like a really big deer, and then you go score
Right.
it and don't score much, but it was still probably a 4-year-old deer, maybe three
Right.
and a half, 4-year-old dear. But this one looked
Yeah.
like it definitely had some
We
age on it.
kind of guessed it was maybe a 5-year-old. Just as a
That's
guess.
yeah.
I don't know that much about aging them. I know that if they're big enough, I shoot them.
They all
Right.
eat the same, right? And um, that that area though, it just amazed me how the bucks are very similar in size. Like they just have a tighter frame. Yours was a little bit wider, I
Yeah.
think. There, I don't remember exactly how
Yeah.
wide he was.
it's unusual. They're the deer there have two different genetics, in my opinion. They have the high rack narrow, and they get mass to them as they age, or they're wide and very short time, and it's just that seems to be the two genetics. And the one I killed last year, he looked like an older deer. He just didn't have much mass, and he had shorter tines, kind of wide, but he was a big mature deer. He just didn't have the rack size, which that's kind of common there as well. Um, the
Yeah.
chance of getting one
It's
that is like the guy from Liberty got that you had on there down there is probably not going to happen. But it's great.
well, it's a
Yeah.
very, very high
Right.
pressure
Yeah.
area too. Yeah.
Well, also, you brought up, I think, in the last podcast, Danny, the percentages. What is it? 15% make it to 150. I think we have this misconception sometimes that these deer, like, oh, if I just give him another year, well, that may have been his peak year. I mean, sometimes you know, if you have a good shot opportunity, it's a good hunt, like we've talked about, you need to take that deer. You know, I mean, at 5.5, he may peak. I don't know. You know, maybe
Yeah.
maybe I don't know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
but um,
If you don't have many acres, man, it is so
Yeah.
hard to get a deer, to
yeah,
that 5-year mark like that everybody talks about. Um, I've been talking a lot with Obendorf just because there's deer we like want to see live and stuff, and you question. I mean, one deer I think he's got a couple years of history with, and you question, is it only 4? Is that deer 5? You think it, but then you see it out there with another deer that's got way bigger body, and deer don't score, what that buck does. So it's hard to tell. I was looking back on an 8-pointer that I was telling you I passed that I thought for sure was 3. And I watched him on, a full 40-inch screen, my footage of him, and I'm like, man, I don't know. Body wise, that deer don't look like he looks like he's 2.5 years old. Like I just think
yeah,
he had real good genetics and he'll be a stud next year.
Back
But
years
yeah.
ago, I shot a buck that was the biggest body buck I ever shot, and Danny was probably 18, maybe, I don't know, 16, 17, 18, that time frame. And I asked him to come help me get it out because it was such a large deer, but the rack was kind of narrow, heavy mass. And I always thought that deer was probably a very old deer and probably just was on the downside of his antler growth.
yeah, wasn't that just a big 3 by
I think
3
it
like a
was
6-point, I think, maybe?
3x4. Yeah. He had a bust.
Yeah. But he's still probably still one of the largest bodied deer that I can remember messing with. I did
Yeah,
like
I
the kill
know.
us trying to
We
get
had a
that
pretty
deer
long
out.
drag to get it out, and it was just a huge deer, and you just don't know.
Yeah.
I guess another thing worth noting is I don't know if I've seen much more of a center punch on a heart
Yeah.
shot, Bill, which I guess I can show on the podcast. Well, I mean, I don't know if they can see. I
Yeah.
mean, you can't get much more center and has a
No, no.
frontal too. So for those against frontal, I mean, if you that's what can happen if you're a dead eye like Bill. You probably still ate
Oh,
that
I
heart
ate
too,
it.
didn't you, Bill?
Absolutely. Yep.
That has become one of I don't know when that probably
Right.
my moose, I guess, is when I got carried away with it. But Bill was there when I shot my moose, and man, I don't even know. Do you know
14.
what year that was? Okay. Yeah. So 2014, we were all there, and I think 5 of
Right.
us was there the day I killed. I think we got Jimmy to
Right.
bring some stuff up for us on that one. But that was one of the first times Jimmy cooked up heart and liver for us, and ever since then, like I don't get rid of a heart. It has to been like gunshot and completely disintegrated. And definitely look forward to it. A lot of times elk camp will eat them, as soon as we've killed, that at night at camp. Just depends. I've even froze some a few times if I couldn't, because I was taking
Right.
everybody's that we
Yeah,
had, if we
frozen's
killed a
good.
bunch. But
I don't have a problem with that.
yeah, I haven't done that a whole lot, but I keep trying different ways, and I pretty much go back to just being floured a little bit, and I like a little Tony Chachere's on it after I fried it, or
Right.
salt and pepper works fine. But you can just do it straight in a butter skillet and do it that way, and it tastes real good. But that definitely has become a tradition pretty much for all of us on the heart. And of course, you got to send a picture when we
You
punch it in the heartbeat.
if you
Oh,
center
yeah.
punch.
Yeah. I was thinking about that. Just I don't know. I sometimes I wonder if I'm Bill's like luck charm, because Bill's killed a lot
Yeah.
of animals when I've been with him, and I've killed a few with when he's there for sure. But I was thinking back to another Indiana buck that you shot in the proving ground is one of the coolest racks. I
Yeah.
think you got that deer mounted. One of the coolest racks. He got his horns was swept up in the front. I think he was a
He was
10 maybe.
9. He did missing a point on
9.
one side. Yeah, that deer was the
Yeah.
widest deer that I got. It was 20 inches wide inside spread. And that's kind of another. I didn't feel like that deer was a real old deer. He was definitely mature. He just wasn't that old. Either that or his rack size just made him look like he was young. But his face didn't look like thick like this one that I got this year. And some of that could be nutrition. Who knows? I mean, I'm not a bot, so it's all guess to
Yeah,
me.
that one, I don't know. Like, I don't really remember the hunt, but I've mentioned it before. Was that proving ground in Indiana had opened up, and you had to draw for it, and it's like a
Right. It's
wildlife
a
refuge
national
now,
wildlife refuge.
isn't it? Yeah, I think they still hunt it. You got to draw for it though, and it's pretty limited. But like in the first few years it opened, we hunted it a whole bunch, and I know you guys still hunt it some. I think some of the guys that are back there
I
anyway.
hunted
But
years and years. I saw a lot of deer there. 2 pretty good bucks. That one we were talking about, and another one later on. But it was a good place to go fill a freezer with some does, and you don't get to scout it. It's just if you get drawn, go in there, you have to rely
yeah,
on your knowledge or a buddy's knowledge, and so that kind of makes it challenging.
yeah, that was like, I mean, it was, I guess, training me a little bit for
Right.
out west public ground a little bit, basically. I mean, once you got drawed, if you could get in the same unit, that you had a little history with, it was a little easier. But a lot of times it wasn't that way. A lot of times, because you'd only get drawed for it like once or twice a year to go in there. And when it first opened up, I didn't have
Right.
anywhere else to really hunt. They'd hunted, we weren't hunting the farm then, because deer numbers were down so bad. But I started hunting there a lot, and you could go in on a weekend, and if like nobody showed up for those draws, you could go into like the
Yeah.
area that they didn't show up for. And that's how I hunted a lot for that was like 2000, 2001. But
Well, it's a
we shot a
buddy
lot of deer in
system.
there.
Buddy system, right? Remember, Bill, me and you went in there and
We
doubled
did.
up on
Yeah,
some
that was
does late
fun.
season.
You were about
You know,
15.
that
You didn't have your driver's
very
license
old.
yet then, because I think your grandpa brought you to Versailles and I met you.
yeah,
I think that picture might be on the website.
Yeah,
actually,
it is.
of you
it
guys with
is.
the
It
2
is.
does
Yeah,
in the back of the truck.
mine was big. If you remember, Bill, we had to drag that thing out. We were wore out, but yeah, Bill's been a part of a lot of my hunts. Thinking back, I think the first bull I ever killed in Colorado, and Bill, you came with us the next day and you helped
Yep.
to get it out, and multiple doe drives. I was always sent off. Seemed like Dad knew the properties, so he was always the what do you say, the rabbit,
Driver.
or the driver. So I was always sent
Right.
with one of you guys, and our muzzleloaders and such. Just a lot of good memories, man. A lot of
Oh
good
yeah,
memories.
there's been a ton of hunts with Eli and his dad, and me and my dad, and Bill, and we've been together hunting elk pretty much since I've moved out west for sure. And like Eli was talking about doe drives, we used to do that back 20 years ago, and we had a lot of fun doing those back in the day.
I was little, man, on those. I remember a couple of the early ones because my night's older. Somebody would have to get my cap out and even pull my because it wasn't bolt like your guys's. Mine was the old school. You had to pull back. I remember I was so little. I grew, I was pretty big for my age. So I was small. I could barely pull that back, because we always use muzzleloaders. It's a lot better than shotgun. And muzzleloader, you could use it longer because our muzzleloader season was 2 weeks and 3 weekends. I think it still is here in Indiana.
It's still open because that's what I was trying to do math when Illinois and Nebraska wasn't working out. I was like, man, 24-hour drive each way for like 3 days of hunting. I was like, I don't know about that one. It was just too much. I wish I could have made something work for this week because I think Indiana's open until this next weekend, the 21st or something like that, I believe, for muzzleloader.
Yep, Kentucky.
I got a good story from a
Yeah.
doe drive just to tell on Eli, not to tell on him, but brag on him a little bit. You were little. I don't recall how old, but it was probably one of the first ones that you were carrying a gun because you went on some when you didn't carry a gun, but you went with us. But this one, you'd gone, and I know that Denny, Dave, and Rob, and it may have just been me and you. And I don't remember if somebody shot a deer and it didn't die, ran off, or that's probably me. But it got over in a thicket, and we're like, well, one of us needs to go down there and run it out. And all of a sudden, we're all standing there talking. The deer stands up and runs out, and Eli just pulls up left hand, boom, and rolls it like a rabbit. And I'm like, that boy can shoot. It was probably a 75 or 100-yard shot. You just pull up, boom, and that just dropped it. And we were like, us old guys, we didn't have our gun up to our shoulder yet.
I got lucky. Believe it or not, I do remember that. I want to say Denny had hit that deer, not the best, I think, and we went up on a hill, and the deer, it was snow on. You could see the blood trail, and it went down into that thicket, like you said. Picture 2 ridges, it's cleared off, kind of old cow pasture, and it came up and it started running, I think, and like you said, I just got lucky, and I think it was a high shot to drop it or something. But those were good times, man. The doe drives, and there was a lot more property and a lot less, people that were trying to pretend like they're the Drury's. It
was a lot easier to get permission. At least you and your dad always had a lot of farms you could hunt and stuff.
We had family too. We've had some family pass away, and losing farms and people wanting to build houses. It's part of it.
We had a lot of fun doing those. When I moved in 2002 to Wyoming, and I moved in November. I came back for Christmas, and I'd always make a trip in Christmas, but I always was checking to make sure that at least one weekend was still muzzleloader season there in Indiana. And for like 10 years, we did those deer drives, and that was always something I really looked forward to. I have a ton of memories, and like it's hard to imagine because I have a lot of memories of hunting with Eli, but then you actually start looking back. Eli's like 4 or 5 years old when we were doing that, so he was very young, but he was just always there with us for sure.
Do you guys remember that Argo Dad would bring home from words like that?
Yeah.
I think they still making that 8-wheel. I think it'll go anywhere. You can even take it out,
go out in the pond.
But we'd have that thing piled with deer.
Still the funniest one probably is Rob with that dang Walmart
Poncho.
rain poncho dragging the deer out by the end of the day with that
No,
thing because it was all tore up.
If you remember, Bill, me and you got caught across the creek. It rained so much. That was a big creek. I think
we
we had to
do.
cross
I
a
walk a
log or
log to
something.
get across the water.
I I ain't saying it had killed you, but you could have
No,
you wouldn't want to
I
fall in. It was like raining all day, and I don't think Danny came to that one because of the
Denny did
rain or
not, right?
something.
Yeah, he
Or
did,
Denny
and
didn't.
Rob
Okay.
did that.
Was that the
Yeah,
same
same
day?
day. Um, Eli and I did the drive, and I think Eli and I, neither one ended up killing a deer, but uh, I was so nervous because I got my buddy's kid with me, and he's eager, and he's like, "Oh, we can get across this." I'm like, "You stay right by me, and we're going across this log." And I was pretty nervous, but once we got across, it was fun. But that's how you learn your experiences, being with the older guys and helping the younger guys learn. I mean, that's part of it, and that's. I mean, I wouldn't trade any of it for another deer, or an elk, because the experience
Yeah.
of
Oh yeah.
the being with you guys and other people, it's just that's a real blessing to be able to do it for some years, because I've done
Oh,
it for a lot of years.
yeah. I
There were
mean, that's what I really don't have many memories of hunting without Bill in them. I really don't. I mean, uh, I don't, I don't remember. Did you hunt much before you got out of
Just
school?
rabbit hunt, squirrel hunt, bird hunt, stuff like that. I never got into
Yeah.
the big game, which in Indiana was deer hunting and turkey hunting. But I got into that
Yeah.
in my early 20s, and then, like everybody
Yeah.
else,
Because
you're
that,
hooked
like, I would
after
have
that.
been, yeah, I would have
yeah.
been Eli's age, I guess, like what we were just talking about, in the early 2000s when Bill was
Uh,
starting to get into it quite a bit. So, like, we killed, we just used to kill a ton of deer on the farm, and I mean, it
right.
was every weekend. So it was just definitely got a ton of experience back in Indiana growing up.
There were more
But
deer
Right.
then. I saw the tail end of it when I was real young, but I would say probably, 90s, early 2000s, there was a ton of deer, it seemed like at least in our area of Indiana.
I want to say our best years were like 89, 90, 88, 89, and 90. Like I'd have been young. I was 8, 9 years old. It was when I was first starting to kill a few deer. The I always talk about this is, we had 70 some acres, and we had another place next to it that was 100, and we had the run of that. There wasn't very many other people hunting right there. I mean, we kind of had control of that whole 170 acres, but there was 2 years. Well, one year I know we killed
Yeah.
22 deer off of that
Right.
170 acres with like 5 guys. I think 5 different people had shot deer on that place. We
Well,
were usually, I think we averaged 18, 19 for
Right.
several years off of that
Yeah.
two farms.
I remember we were doing a drive, and it was one where everybody got one. It was a good year. And we were doing it. It was like a herd of deer came by. I mean, I think I counted like 30 because I was real small. I don't even know if I could shoot at this time, or it might have been like one of my first because I was with dad. I kept telling like shoot, shoot, but they were all running. But I remember counting. It was crazy. And now it's like, man, I run cameras and such, on pretty big farms. Just
Yeah.
don't have that many
Um,
deer.
I think that was the
Yeah,
day that Danny
there's been
killed 3, Eli, that you were talking about, where we saw all those deer, because Danny and I were walking down a fence row, and he shoots and I shoot, and then he shoots again.
One almost ran into you on this one I'm talking about. You were down the creek bottom, Danny, and one almost ran into you. Oh,
I wonder if it ain't the day that I
Yeah.
actually shot like a good buck on I had one hunt where I killed a really nice 8 point with you guys doing a deer drive, and I don't know if I think Bill was about 150 yards from me maybe on that one, and there was 3 big bucks that came running by, and I think I picked out the biggest one. I don't know. There were some nice deer there, and shot and killed him. That was always one of my favorites, but we just didn't kill a ton of bucks doing that. That was usually does, and we had a few nice ones come out of there. But I have a memory of that same spot where I killed that buck. Me, me and Bill standing side by side, and there's a buck way over on the next hillside, and we're debating how far it is. I mean, this is before we're carrying rangefinders and stuff, and probably max then was maybe, be lucky if you could shoot 150 yards, and I remember, I don't know if I shot first or you. I think you shot, and the deer didn't move, and he's like, "Well, we might as well try." Well, it was one of the two of us shot like that, and then the other one's like, "Well, I guess I'll try." Neither one of us hit whatsoever. The buck still didn't move. We were loading guns. I think he finally took off before he got loaded for another shot. But those were fun. We used to see a ton of deer doing that too. I had multiple trips on deer drives where I shot 3 does in a day. I think that happened twice. I was always trying to fill as many tags as I could because that was the only chance I was getting the whitetail hunt back then. After moving out west. So, but no, definitely a lot of memories, and look forward to making a lot more.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I don't know. I'm kind of excited to go try to get a doe down. I really would have liked to got a little more buck hunting, but you start thinking about that, and I'm sure you're the same way, Bill. Is like trying to take advantage of what you can because it just get older.
You gotta do it and enjoy it. When I was your age, Danny, and even you, Eli, but more so Danny's age, I'm like, I'll be doing this when I'm 80. Well, things change when you get older, so you got to be able to appreciate what the days that you have in the field, and then also you got to adapt. I mean, I didn't want to go to a crossbow, but I did because that gives me the best opportunity to make ethical shots,
And though a crossbow is deadly when when you know what it does. So it can definitely, if you have lesser opportunities, you can definitely take advantage of it. I know. I mean, I've started. I love shooting a compound. I started getting a little nervous. I've got a little shoulder stuff going on right now that probably going to need to get checked out. Don't know exactly what's up. I can still shoot fine and just definitely have something happening.
And you did a lot of labor when you were younger.
Yep.
Yeah.
Back in the day,
and,
not as
and
much
that's
anymore.
what wears on your joints. For those that don't have that, great. I know a couple guys that still shoot recurves that are my age. There's no way I could even attempt to draw one back because of that pressure on your joint. You can't do it.
I think you've earned that right too, Bill. It's just part of it. What I don't I guess like is somebody my age, that's real healthy, picking that up and saying, I've heard the excuse some guys saying, well, I just don't have time to practice, and this and that. So I don't know. I guess I could see that, but they have different seasons and such. I think, I wouldn't want anybody to sit on the couch. I think, you're making the right decision. You have to think about the animal as well. You want to make a good ethical shot. If you're out there trying to strain, you don't want to hurt yourself. I'm glad you have. And our buddy Rob, he's crossbow. And really, he's the same way as you. Like it cost him a good buck this year because the limb, I haven't had him on, hit the side of the blind. He was hunting out of a redneck style blind. Just happened fast, and he put it up, and he thought he was far enough away, and that it hit. I mean, it was only like 15-yard shot, but it was just enough to throw that arrow off.
It's still archery equipment.
It's just,
and you have to know your yardage. You have to know the limitations. Same as a compound, and things like that. You could hit your compound bow on a limb or a blind or whatever, and mess up your shot as well. So just because you carry a crossbow is not an automatic. It gives you an advantage because you don't have to
No.
draw, but it gives you a disadvantage because if you have to take a follow-up shot, you're not going to do that on a deer or any wild animal because you're not going to get it caught with the animal.
That's true. I never thought about that.
I think I might have talked about this back in 13 when I had heart surgery. I hunted with a crossbow a little bit, and I shot a couple antelope, out of blind and had fun. I'm not particular to the weapon. Like I like to hunt, and I try to hunt with what is open at that time. Is kind of my thing. I've shot a few deer with a bow when it was gun season and stuff, but that crossbow, I can tell you, I have no desire to carry them in the elk woods. They are work carrying those things, especially that one I had. I mean, that would have been Dad and Bill and Tony's first experience around them, and they all got a taste of carrying a crossbow because they all offered it up when I was dying trying to climb the mountain with the dang thing. But they got some newer ones out that are a little narrow. Those big wide limbs on some of those crossbows were just always they're a pain getting through that mountain. There's areas where you could elk hunt that it wouldn't be an issue whatsoever. You can just have it on your back and go. But that particular area is just so thick.
What we need to do within the next couple years is get everybody together and do another antelope hunt. That was really fun.
Yeah.
We did it on the lake there. So I think we need to do that. That's I guess more of a fun hunt, antelope. Me and Dad, we had a good time with Danny because Danny was like our guide. We had not, I hadn't hunted antelope much, and Dad hadn't either. So we're like, what about that one? He's like, that's doinker. He's trying to put us on a big one after a day or two. He's like, that was looking pretty good. In this particular area, didn't have a lot of big antelope. I think I don't know if I don't know what happened if they died out.
There was a lot of antelope. They'd been shot so heavily for a few years that like 13 and a half was your top mature goat.
Yeah.
They were mature goats. They had the ivory tips.
Largest
They were just short.
out of that 5, and mine was like an 1/8 inch bigger than Eli's.
Yeah.
And it was like
there was like no difference between most of those bucks.
Yeah.
I get so
yeah.
Antelope are fun, but they also drive. Like this year, I drove around looking at a bunch of country, and I mean, I couldn't tell you how many miles, 3 days worth of driving between bow and gun and stuff. And like I ran into some guys that had said they passed up a buck, and I'd seen the buck they passed up, and they were just chatting with me. And I was like, I'm just going to tell you right now, because I think it was gun season the next day. I think they were scouting prior to gun season. And I was like, well, that buck you're looking at there is one of the bigger ones that are in this area. And that guy didn't want to believe me. I said, they kind of maxed out at 14 here. They were a little bigger than the area that you guys hunted, but it was kind of the same way. I did manage to kill a real heavy buck in that area, but I only saw 2 that would have probably even broke 14 and a half. It's just like they kind of get an average in the area they're at. And just a few of them will break that just because so many people are hunting them anymore. But that's definitely a fun hunt. You get to see a lot of animals because it's open country, and you can just drive around and find you one to go after. So definitely one to look forward to. You guys all should be getting pretty close on points, I think. Probably
I have
for that
5
hunt.
right now.
Yeah.
I got the same then, right? Because we use them at the same time, unless I missed a year.
I think it was 19 maybe when we did that.
I was in college.
20.
And we drew with 4 points then, but I don't know because last I looked, they shut that the ranch there shut that walk-in or whatever that permit was that we could get to go up hunt antelope on that property.
I'd have to do some digging because that ranch sold this past year or in 25. Yeah, I don't remember who bought that, so I don't know if that'll change anything with
China.
What they got. Yeah, probably. It was Warren Buffett who I think had that property probably. But I don't know. I forget what they wanted. It was a ton of money what they wanted for that area.
Or Bill Gates, man. He's buying up all the farmland, they say.
It's funny when you hear that, like that place for sale, and I look and it's like, I don't understand. I don't understand who can
Yeah.
even afford it, but
Well,
no.
man, Bill, thanks for coming on here. Really appreciate it. Good story and just good to catch up, really. And Danny, I hope you get a doe, and I'll be thinking of you because I got 2 more bucks I'm after.
Well, thank you for inviting me, and
Yeah.
good luck on hunting whatever you guys got going on. Good luck at it.
I
Yeah.
appreciate you guys.
Thanks,
All
and
right.
stay after it for anybody who's got any tags left, man.
Yep. See you
Bye.
guys. See you next week. Thanks.